Welcome to the Oscars Cheat Sheet Miniseries. Why bother having an opinion on this year's Best Picture nominees when you can just use ours? Hey, it's that time of year again. Time for us to talk about the Oscars, which we all love and definitely don't have various hang-ups concerning it. And I'm here with Richard and our actor friend Aaron, that's actor/friend Aaron, who always comes to talk to us about the Oscars. But this year, we're doing something a little bit different, as you can see from what you've looked at, what this episode is called. We're doing an Oscar cheat sheet mini-series. And what this is going to consist of is we'll probably release maybe 2 a day, and it's going to be us talking about each film that's been nominated for Best Picture. What do we think? Do we like it? Should it win? Did it deserve it? Etc., etc. Full spoilers for the movie in question. And we are going to, on this episode, be talking about Don't Look Up. Isn't that right, lads?
That is right. Also, so this is the first one, presumably. This is the first one we're recording. Presumably the first one you're listening to. This is the first time we've recorded together in a little while, AJ, because I've just got back from China. And it's the first time in a year we've recorded with Aaron. Although less than a year because the Oscars were later last year.
That's true. And I'm
They're
glad...
also kind of late this year for normal Oscar times, but yeah.
Just going to say I was glad that AJ introduced me as actor/friend and not the other way around. Actor first, friend second.
Yeah.
So, we're here to talk about Don't Look Up. What are the deets, Richard? What are the deets of Don't Look Up?
I presume this is a question you're going to be asking me every time, so we should establish now what you mean by that.
The director.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sweet. So, Don't Look Up was a film released on Netflix at the end of last year. It's directed by Adam McKay, whose last 3 films have all been nominated for Best Picture. That's Big Short, Vice, and Don't Look Up. Obviously,
they've all been nominated as the silly one. This is the Academy's idea of the silly one.
Yeah, his first films he's made without Will Ferrell, because he obviously made the likes of Anchorman, Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, The Other Guys, and Anchorman 2, and then went on to make The Big Short, Vice, and Don't Look Up. All nominated for Best Picture, as I mentioned. It has an ensemble cast starring in the lead sort of roles is Leonardo DiCaprio and Jennifer Lawrence. 2 actors who lately haven't really been in much, so it's they're both kind of big gets. But we've got a big ensemble cast featuring Jonah Hill, Mark Rylance, Tyler Perry, Timothée Chalamet, Ron Perlman, Ariana Grande, Kid Cudi, Himesh Patel, Melanie Lynskey, Michael Chiklis, who has one line in the film, Meryl Streep, Cate Blanchett, and we've also got cameos from Liev Schreiber, Sarah Silverman, Chris Evans, and we also had Matthew Perry was in the film, but was cut out, and he was weirdly the person I was most excited to see in the film, and I didn't even get to see him.
Yeah, I would love to have seen Matthew Perry. Would that be his first acting role in a long time?
Since 17 again.
Good lord!
Yeah, first movie acting role. He was in the Odd Couple reboot, which ran for 3 seasons.
He was also in a show called Go On, I think.
Yeah,
that I quite liked.
Does that predate? That's 2012, 2013. Yeah. So this is about the 2 scientists, Dr. Randall Mindy, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and Debbie Askey. It's been a while since I've seen the film, so I can't remember the pronunciation of Jeff Lawrence's character's name.
Yeah, because that's what they named the asteroids, Debbie.
Yeah, they discover this asteroid is hurtling towards Earth and is going to wipe out the planet, and the film is a very thinly veiled metaphor for the impact, the looming threat of global warming, that it's going to wipe out the planet, and it's turned into a political issue whether or not you believe that the asteroid is going to destroy all life on Earth, or if you buy into what the liberal media tells you, which obviously coming out at the end of 2021 took on a new meaning, being very clearly also to do with the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, thinly veiled with glad wrap.
Yeah.
That's what this movie is. What did you guys think of Don't Look Up? This is the lowest scoring Best Picture nominee on Rotten Tomatoes. I was quite surprised to see it get nominated after it was like relatively I saw a lot of people not like this film at all. And then saw it got nominated for Best Picture, and I went, that's because this is what the Academy thinks a comedy looks like.
Yeah.
This is what a prestigious comedy looks like.
I also think that you have, you've got people that there's, like, the Oscar bingo space, like, the middle square is Adam McKay or Meryl Streep or Leonardo DiCaprio. Like, all of them are just like, yeah, if you make a film, don't worry. We'll
Don't worry about it.
But it is also worth mentioning before we get into what we thought of it that, this year, the reason we're splitting it up into these 10 podcasts is because there is 10 nominees, and it's the first time in a while that there's been 10 nominees. The reason is that years and years ago, well, not that many years ago, but 2008, The Dark Knight was snubbed, and that's kind of cited as one of the reasons, like, that the Academy after that were like, you know what, maybe 5 films isn't enough, and we should really be, honoring more of cinema, and so let's make it 10 films. And then they did 10 films for like 2 or 3 years, and then Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close was nominated, and they went, maybe 10's too many. Like, what if there's not 10 good films in a year? And then they made it for the last, 10 years or so. It's been between 5 and 10. It's to do with how a certain amount have to, get past a certain threshold of votes. And it hasn't been 10 since it was changed to between 5 and 10. But from this year onwards, they're now saying it's going to be 10. So it will always be 10 now on until they inevitably change their mind again. Yeah, so and having said that, though, like what we're saying about this is what the Academy views as a comedy, that, I kind of like that with 10 films we can do stuff like this. There is this year, last year, a few years ago, we saw the most popular film award being talked about, and they're kind of doing stuff like that again this year, which we'll talk about at some point. And yeah, I like the idea of the Academy honoring more films like this, because there was a big push to get, like, Spider-Man No Way Home nominated for Best Picture, which was like, maybe there should be a spot for a film like that. But the spot for a film like that is billions of dollars at the box office. They don't need Academy Awards. But yes, Aaron, what did you think of the film?
What did I think of the film? I think we maybe had a conversation about this after I watched it. Was like, at the time watching it, I was like, because I watched it so long after having seen all the kind of critical reviews of it being like, it's terrible, it's dumb, I remember watching it and being like, it's actually a reasonably fun time. But then, reflecting on it, I think there are definitely, it does feel like the movie has a point, and then it sort of hits you over the head with its point for 2.5 hours. But there are definitely...
It's a long film too.
Yeah, surprisingly long. But there are definitely aspects to it that are kind of fun. And again, I think you're right. It does seem to be a sort of hierarchy within the kind of arts industry where things that are serious are seen as being better pieces of art. So I think you're right to say that it's a good thing that they can expand this to 10, because then it recognizes things that are funny or things that are not necessarily serious, draining pieces of art that you have to sit through for 2.5 hours. I will say that, and I know we're not supposed to be referencing other movies, but having just finished watching Power of the Dog today, I don't think that Don't Look Up is responsible for the funniest moment I've seen out of all of the all of the Oscar movies, but you'll have to wait to Power of the Dog to hear my opinion on that.
All right, moving on to Power of the Dog.
Very interesting. I feel like I'm of two minds about this, because I watched it knowing, I thought it was a cool idea for a film. I thought the trailer looked all right. I thought the title I really liked. And that's all the things I look for, whether or not I go and see a movie. And then I heard it was bad, and I was like, that's a shame. And then I watched it, and while there's a lot of stuff that I thought was pretty silly in it, I really, really responded to a lot of it. And I think it's because, and I'm sorry everyone, if I made a Hollywood comedy, I think this is what it would look like, or
Yeah.
what it would
This
end
is
up
how
looking
obtuse it would be, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, no, seriously. Like, I would want it to have a message, and I would want it to like condemn these ideas in the world that I hate, and all that sort of thing. And like, I saw some. It was like there were two waves of this film. There was everyone saying it's obvious, it's stupid, it's pandering, and then there was like a second wave of people being like, it's great, and we live in a time where you need to be obvious and pandering for people to even understand what the hell you're trying to say. And so, yeah, I liked it, though I understand some of the resentment towards it, and again, I am surprised it got nominated, I guess.
Yeah.
I would have probably bumped a couple of others above it if we're talking about what the 10 films should open themselves up to, I guess.
Sure, yeah. It's one of those things where, like, there's certain kinds of jokes in it that are like, I still struggle to say they're subtle, but there's like I know, AJ, one of your favorite jokes of the film, Jennifer Lawrence's character goes to visit her parents, and they're like, they're essentially like, you can come in if you promise not to get political. And it's like, jokes like that are so funny. And it's like so much of the film is like, it's almost like Family Guy in a way, where it's like, the jokes are like so stupid and obvious, but to me, like, the funniest bits of Family Guy are like the like super relatable like throwaway lines, and this film is also full of those where it's like, or like Meryl Streep's playing a thinly veiled Trump allegory. That's not that funny, but conservative parents telling their daughter not to get political, that's really funny. And and also like Timothy Chalamet, shout out to him in this film, because like, you know, obviously he's one of the sort of best young actors we've got at the moment, and known for these very sort of serious roles, but he's got some like serious comedic chops on him, like, and just one of those things where it's like, it's an actor's actor, like, making really weird decisions but that still feel real. Like his first line in the movie, one of his first lines when he comes up to the register where at the store where Jennifer Lawrence is, and he's like, I'd like to buy these sunglasses, and he just puts on this weird voice, and it's like, yeah, that's what teenagers do. Like, that's what people like.
Yeah, and I was like, is that going to be his character's voice?
Yeah. And then there's like a bit at the end when he says to Melanie Linsky, his gamer tag on Twitch, he's like, you game? And he like stares at her with this like smug kind of like but inquisitive expression that he holds for like 5 seconds, and it's so funny how long he holds it, like waiting for her to respond.
Hey, but speaking of alternative Timothy Chalamet pictures that were likely to get nominated for Best Picture, I probably would have pegged French Dispatch over Don't Look Up for being more of a shoe-in for the Oscars, to be honest. And maybe because again, that is kind of the Academy's idea of a comedy, I think. And so I'm surprised that Don't Look Up got in over French Dispatch. I think would be the one I would maybe swap out for each other.
Are you going to do that for each film?
Yeah. I'll sort of tell you which one I would swap it out for,
Yeah.
even if it's another nominated film.
Yeah.
Is it possible not to be cynical that perhaps the reason for that is that Netflix has deep pockets and probably the ability to promote something like Don't Look Up over... Because French Dispatch was just a regular kind of studio movie, right?
Yeah, it's on Disney Plus in New Zealand. So 20th Century Pictures, I guess.
Right.
It's also better than Don't Look Up by a lot of metrics.
Well, I've heard one part of it is.
No, it is actually, having seen it. Yeah.
Well, having not seen it, I also think I'm qualified.
I have an opinion. No, having seen it, yeah, I think the thing is as well, I don't know, it feels like it has more good parts to it, like in terms of like production design and like even the sort of, as much as it's kind of a screwball comedy, it's kind of a very heartfelt love letter in some respects. So I guess
Are you talking about Don't Look Up or
No, I'm talking about French Dispatch, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas like Don't Look Up is a very heartfelt hate letter.
A hate letter. I was going to say love letter. I was like, well, I don't think he's talking about Don't Look Up. I don't think this was a very loving movie. One thing that I disagree with on the consensus of Don't Look Up is I thought Jonah Hill was the worst part of the movie.
Hated him.
I thought he
and
sucked.
Meryl Streep. Fucking hated them.
I didn't mind Meryl Streep as much, and I thought it was fun to see her play Donald Trump, considering how on record she was hating on him. But like Jonah Hill is playing like why Jonah Hill was funny 10 years ago, and not why I would be interested in watching Jonah Hill today. Also, spoilers, technically the only character to survive the film, which kind of pissed me off even more because it was like, you think people like this character. But I guess they did because he was talking
Aaron,
about...
did you have thoughts on...
I was just going to say, how did he survive the film?
There's a post-credit scene where he pops out of the rubble. Earth is destroyed, and he goes, "Oh, I got a tweet about this."
What?
Yeah.
There's a
very
post-credit
funny.
scene?
Yeah.
Nominate this film for an Oscar.
Yeah. Best funny.
Wow. That's amazing. But on the Jonah Hill and Meryl Streep thing, it's interesting that those are probably the two characters that feel the most kind of like they're actively caricatures of something. And is maybe the reason why people don't like them, because they feel like
caricatures of existing people.
Yeah, they feel like...
I guess Mark Rylance as well.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I feel like they feel the most like kind of obvious critiques of specific figures. And so they're kind of like these grotesque figures, and that's maybe why you hate them, is because it's like, that's not a real person, that's your judgment on these people.
Interesting. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, because the fact that Meryl Streep's so actively anti-Trump that it's like you're letting your hatred of him get in the way of a good performance.
Yeah,
there's
nothing redeeming about
this
them.
is more about look how much I hate Trump than look what a good performance this is.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
My favorite character was probably Ron Perlman's character, because when he gets launched into space, he says something racist, and everyone's like, "He's from a different time." And I briefly thought the film was going to get into the politics of like, "This is your key to saving the world," but he said the N-word, so we've cancelled him. Like, I wondered if if it was going to touch on something like that.
I like how you're like, "This is my favorite character because he said something racist."
No, that's not why. I just thought it was a funny idea to put in the film, I guess. And one thing that I also didn't like about this film is that
the running gag about paying for snacks.
I liked that. Actually.
I did too, but it was very like, boy, did the filmmakers think this was funny.
Mark Rylance's character, who's like a Steve Jobs type?
He's the CEO of the tech company that says, "Wait a minute, we can mine the asteroid to make money and shit." Yeah.
Yeah. There's a point in the movie where there's a joke that how his algorithms are so strong it can tell you how you're going to die. And he tells someone that they're going to die of a heart attack or whatever, which I guess is not true because they die when the world blows up. But
he
Meryl
tells Meryl Streep,
who's the president, she asks how she's going to die, and he says you'll get eaten by something called
a Bronteroc.
A Bronteroc, which is like, I don't know if that's how I was like willing to believe the app worked. I thought it was going to take in data and conclude this, not like literally tell the
predict the future. Yeah.
And then when millions of years later, after the escape pod that has the president in it arrives on an alien planet, she gets eaten by said Bronteroc. And I thought that was silly because that scene had only just happened about 20 minutes earlier. That's like the thing you set up at the start of the movie so that it's paid off in the final scene, not something you set up 20 minutes earlier. So.
It's like in The Boss Baby.
It's like they do it in The Boss Baby, and I cannot remember. I cannot remember what it actually is but they do it in The Boss Baby. It's
a line about pirates or something like that. You forgot to say R or something.
Yeah, or like working together, and then he repeats it in the climax, but he's only just said it at the start of the third act.
It is weird. One of the weirdest things about this movie, also just from my experience of this movie, I had the day off work, and it was playing like about a month before it came out, or a few weeks before it came out in a cinema here, and now they like one screen. So I was like, oh fuck, I'll go to this. I was like one of the only people in the cinema, and so I got to see it before like there was any buzz about it online, and so again, sort of just trying to predict that, and I mean, like, it's pretty predictable what people are going to think of it. That it's like, some people really, really respond to this, and then some people will be like, "This is just." I liked it more than I thought I would. I kind of went in wanting to hate it, and then was like, I actually had a good time, and I thought it was pretty good. But I found a lot of it like quite obnoxious, especially the editing, and it is nominated for best editing at the Oscars. But I was gonna say, it is weird as well to see Leonardo DiCaprio dating a woman his own age and having adult children. Like, I'm sure he hated that.
Do you think that he should have been nominated for an Oscar because to make that believable is so far out the bounds of his own existence or experience?
That you meet Melanie Linsky and it's like, oh, that must be his girlfriend's mum. But yeah, it is nominated for Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay, Best Original Score, and Best Film Editing. I hope it doesn't win editing, because that was my biggest complaint about the film.
That always happens, though. It's always the award,
it's
the category you hate the
obvious
most.
editing. Yeah,
but it's always the category you hate most about a nominee that it wins. I remember when Dunkirk won Best Sound Mix or whatever, and I was like, "What? I hated the sound mix of that movie."
Yeah.
Or I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody winning Best Editing.
One Best Editing, yeah. But it's just the film where you could tell that there's editing in it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so what are its odds of winning Best Picture, Richard?
So Bwin, the gambling website we usually go to, which allows you to bet on the last name that will appear in the in memoriam, isn't doing the Oscars this year. So, yeah, I mean,
devastating.
66-1 odds, I think. For
that's almost its Rotten Tomato score.
Yeah, it's better than its Rotten Tomato score.
There you go.
Yeah, so. Yeah,
I would say this feels fairly unlikely to take home the big award.
Yeah, it's one of the bottom ones. This and another one, which we'll talk about later this afternoon, were the kind of ones that I think people were quite surprised to see nominated in a bad way. Ones that people like. There's something like Drive My Car that people were like, "Oh, it'd be so cool if this makes it." But this and Nightmare Alley, I think, are the two ones that people are like, there's a new movie from Adam McKay, there's a new movie from Guillermo del Toro, who have, historically done well at the Oscars. And you think, really exciting. Then they come out, people don't love them, and they think, maybe they won't be nominated. But they were, because they've got a quoted film now.
It does sort of feel like, not to disparage the films that are there, in some ways it does feel like this is kind of the year where people get nominated, or films get nominated based on the reputation of the directors rather than necessarily the strength of the films themselves. Or even
what a great call. Yeah.
Like even the strength of the films relative to the director's other films, a lot of them I would say, like, this is very clearly not their best work.
Yeah, I mean, like I would definitely say that with Steven Spielberg for West Side Story, Nightmare Alley, Guillermo del Toro, P.T. Anderson for Licorice Pizza. I would say it for Dune with Denis Villeneuve as well. And obviously Adam McKay. Kenneth Branagh for Belfast is one where it's like, this is probably his best work.
You didn't feel that Thor was better?
No, I agree. I would agree with that. This is not... with every director nominated, they've made with exception of a couple, I would say they've all made a film that I prefer greatly to the ones that they had nominated this year.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting list, which I think our sort of feeling, or my feelings at least, will become clear about it over the next 10 podcasts, or nine more podcasts after this one. Yeah, any final thoughts on Don't Look Up?
Just look down.
Ariana Grande was in it. Why didn't it get nominated for Best Song?
That's actually really strange, yeah.
Did you guys have a moment where you considered the fact that years ago on Saturday Night Live, Ariana Grande guest starred, where she did a pretty mocking impression of Jennifer Lawrence, and now they're acting in a film together? I thought about that a lot. Anyway, that was our discussion on Don't Look Up on this, the Oscars Cheat Sheet mini-series. Be sure to check out the other episodes and like and follow Cole Popture on Instagram and Twitter. Join our Discord, which there's a show note. There's a link to in the show notes. You can also join our Discord and did I just say that? Or did I say Patreon?
Just do whatever you
Discord
want.
and Patreon. Join all these things. Email us at coldpopturemedia@gmail.com. Tell us what you think the Best Picture winner will be. And we'll see you on the next episode of Cheat Sheet.
About Nightmare Alley.
Okay.
All right.
All right, yeah, what you said.